Palermo. Festerson. Harding.
Here.
Jerem.
Here.
Melton. Pauls.
Here.
Mr. President.
Here. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing today for our invocation by Councilmember Amy Melton. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thanks. I just want to take a moment. I know in just the last week we've had 2 big snowstorms that have hit the city and hit the city pretty hard. But I want to give a big shout out to all of the public works employees who have worked so hard. And I have to say I was almost brought to tears by a Public Pulse article that I saw in today's paper that said on both Tuesday and Saturday they didn't see one snowplow on the street going around. Well, I can tell you that's not true, and I can tell you on Tuesday night I know that a snowplow was going around because both myself and Councilman Harding, he was on another snowplow, but we were both out on the plows. And I rode around on the plow, and I have to tell you that job is hard. And I rode around during the crux of the storm from about 9 p.m. to almost midnight. And those guys have to be in the truck with the heat blaring at like 95 degrees. In fact, I said to the driver, I thought maybe he just had it warm because he was trying to be nice to me, thinking that it needs to be warmer. I said, you know, I'm kind of a middle-aged woman. You don't really need to have the heat up that high. And he said, no, we have to keep it that way for the windshield. So not only are they driving around 12-hour shifts, they're driving around where it's like 95 degrees inside that truck. And they don't stop. They're not taking breaks, and they're going up and down. And I can tell you, we went up and down Northwest Radial Highway all the way to the end. We got to one end, and we're coming back down. You wouldn't have thought a truck had passed because the snow was coming down so fast. So I want to say that those guys do one heck of a job. The conditions aren't necessarily great. They're driving around when we can't see. And they're leaving their families. They're working 5-6 days a week in 12-hour shifts. So I don't know, next time you want to think about complaining, just think of the job that they do and how tough it is. And, you know, say a little prayer next time there's a snowstorm and give a shout out to the good public works guys that are out there helping clean our streets. So thank you.
Thank you.
An affidavit of publication is on file for the pre-council and city council meeting, and a current copy of the Open Meeting Act is posted in a white binder on the east wall of the legislative chambers.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this meeting of the Omaha City Council. The council thanks you all for being here today. As a courtesy to those in attendance, we would ask you to turn off or mute any of your electronic devices. Madam Clerk.
Items 6 to 9 relate to the same project and can be considered together for Omaha View Replat 4, located southeast of 34th Avenue and Miami Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 6, an ordinance to rezone this property from R535 District and R7 District to R5 District. Item 7, an ordinance to approve a PUR District and R5 District for this location. Item 8, a resolution to approve the preliminary plat for Omaha View Replat 4. Item 9, a resolution to approve the final plat for Omaha View Replat 4.
Public hearing on agenda items numbers 6 through 9 are today. Proponents, please.
Mike Gawley, 4324 4th Street, Executive Director of Holy Name Housing, developer and builder of this project. I have really nothing more to add, but I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mike. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Moved and seconded to approve items 6 through 9. There are no lights. Roll call.
Palermo. Yes. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Yes. Pauls.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 6 through 9 are approved 7-0. And if there are no objections, there is a request for items, or for the public hearing for items 10 and 19 to be together for property located southeast of 10th and Farnham Streets. Item 10, a resolution to approve the preliminary plat for Central Park East Replat 3 with a request for a waiver of Section 53.84D lot frontage. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 19, a resolution to approve the River Crossing Phase 1A Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Plan in an amount up to $11 million.
Public hearing on agenda items numbers 10 and 19 are today. Proponents, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Larry Jobin, 11440 West Center Road, appearing on behalf of the applicant. With me today from Heinz Interests Limited Partnership is Brad Soderwall. So if you have any questions of him, he is available to answer those. As far as, I'll get right into it, we'll take the kind of the preliminary plat issues first and then discuss the tax increment financing portion. I think you need the overhead down.
Needs to focus. Eyes are terrible.
Should get brighter.
There, it was
There you
focused.
go.
You had brought it in the there you go. I think you're okay.
It's still a little dark, but we'll deal with it. This is my own exhibit. So I took an aerial photograph, and I thought it was important to kind of outline the outer boundaries of what's being preliminarily platted and then eventually finally platted with this particular development. And you'll notice, and it's hard to see in the black. Maybe you see it better up there. The black is the outer limits of the preliminary plat that is before you today. And all of the areas that are highlighted in yellow are part of the eventual redevelopment that will be before this council. We do have phase 1 today as far as the redevelopment project. The two areas in blue, or highlighted in blue, are included in the plat, but they will not be redeveloped. They are existing buildings that will remain in existence, some used by tenants and some used by, one used by ConAgra. So just so you get an idea of the ConAgra campus, you've got 10th Street on the west, you've got Farnham Street on the north, and you got really Jones Street on the south, and then of course the Heartland of America Park to the east, along with the lake. The total acreage is about 23 acres, and we're proposing to plat it into 10 buildable lots and 2 outlots. The outlots are for green space, as well as they're actually lots that are underneath the lake, so we're turning those into outlots. What you'll see before you when the final plat comes is we're rezoning the property to ACI 1, which currently is just CBD, so there won't be any change in the base district zoning. There's just ACI 1 being applied to this particular development, so the urban design code will kick in with respect to this development. So as far as the entire project, we're proposing, again, being a phased project, but just in talking about the overview of the entirety of the project, the concept is really to extend the old market area and downtown and expand the grid system into the Heartland of America Park, and while also providing an exciting and vibrant pedestrian connection to the lake and the Heartland of America Park as well. And I have some exhibits that we'll go through and show you those in a little bit. The overall development will contain approximately 500,000 square feet of office space. There'll be 80,000 square feet of retail space. There's a proposed hotel, and there's 900 new residences, which are comprised of multifamily units as well as condominium units, and I'll go through each one of those phases here in a minute. As far as the phasing, when we get into the TIF here in a little bit, we'll talk about phase 1A. That's this particular part of the development, and it is along Farnham on the north, 10th on the west, and then the newly extended Harney Street to the Heartland of America Park, and then 8th Street will connect Harney to Farnham. With the Phase 1A, there's also Lot 10 that you'll notice, and Lot 10, if you look at the preliminary plat, is its own lot that's situated really surrounded by the Harney Street right-of-way. So, but it'll be a private pedestrian plaza space that can be enjoyed by the public, and we'll show you some conceptual pictures of what that might look like as well. And so the initial phase is Lot 1 and Lot 10. As far as the Phase 1, the multifamily project, there's 375 units being proposed in this particular development. There's 42,000 square foot retail space. The retail space will be situated on the first floor, and it'll face the Harney Street elevation as well as the 10th Street elevation as far as the retail. There is also a 720 parking stall garage, public parking, that will serve the multifamily and the retail component of the development as well as the general public. There's expected to be 150 to 250 parking stalls that will be available at all times to the general public. That parking garage, and I have an exhibit that will show this, is interior to the building, so this building wraps the entire parking facility, so the parking facility will not be visible from any part of the exterior public rights-of-way, so it'll be totally enclosed in the development. The parking garage will be owned, constructed, and managed by the City of Omaha, and so we've been working with the city regarding that. This is an exhibit that shows Farnham Street to the north, proposed 8th Street, extended Harney, and then 10th Street to the west. You'll notice that the building wraps the parking garage. This is the parking facility right here, and this is just a courtyard. But as you can see, there'll be buildings wrapping the entire parking facility, which we think will make for a very nice development. Which brings me to the pedestrian, I guess before we get there, I do have some, these are proposed building elevations. They're conceptual in nature at this point. Again, being ACI 1 and also being a TIF deal, the Urban Design Code applies. So it will have to meet all of the building material requirements of the Urban Design Code. But this is just one look. This shows the 42,000 square feet, or a portion of the retail space on the first floor. It is a 5-story building with the apartments up. And as you see from this elevation, which is the Harney Street elevation, you cannot see any portion of the public parking facility. So then we get to the other phases of the development that we talked about. This is phase 1A, we're calling it, and that's what's before you today. Then we've got 1B, which is the proposed hotel site. Then we have proposed 2A, which is multifamily and retail in this location. And then there's a phase 2B, which is an office building. And 2C is what we're calling an event space, or a public event space. It could be for receptions. That's still being developed, but conceptually you'll see on one of our pictures looking down the Harney Street corridor what that might look like. We have phase 4A, which is office, and then we have phase 4B, which is the condominium project. So that's the condominium portion of the development. Conagra Drive that runs through the middle will remain in its current configuration, and as you can see, the idea is really to reconnect and extend the grid system through this property to the heartland of America Park. And also, we will be improving 8th Street from Harney to Farnham Street. As far as the open plaza space, this is an elevation. Zoom in a little bit. You'll notice this is a 38-foot wide open pedestrian plaza space, and then it narrows just after what would be 9th Street to 8th Street. So this is where the main kind of pedestrian activity will take place. These are some photographs of what that space may look like. Obviously, it's intended for outdoor seating and restaurants and events that can happen for the public. So this is another just example of what this area may look like. This kind of gives you another view of what it might look like, more of a 3D type view. This being 10th Street, Harney Street extended, and this being phase 1A, this entire building here with the parking garage in this location, and the apartments wrapped around it with retail. This being 1B, the hotel. This 2A being the additional multifamily and retail. This being the event center, 2C, and this being the office building, 2B. So these are all conceptual in nature, but and this is a view east looking west. So you're here about where the lake is, the Conagra Lake, and the Heartland of America Park, and then you're looking west towards what would be the Phase 1A, the Phase 2B, 2C, which is the event space in that location. And so I think you'll see a noticeable improvement to this area in downtown Omaha. So with that, we've been working very closely with staff, Planning Department, Public Works Department, Finance Department, Law Department, as well as the Mayor's Office, and we appreciate all the time and effort that they've been giving. We've been working on this for over a year and a half now, I think. So it's nice to finally see us getting to this point with the preliminary plat. It's anticipated that we'll start construction hopefully in the fall of this year with a completion by the end of 2021. So that really concludes the presentation with respect to the preliminary plat, and then I can get into the TIF matter. So I don't know if anyone has any questions regarding the plat or the phasing of the development at this point before we get into the TIF.
None so far. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So we'll get back to, with respect to the TIF, there's a significant amount of public improvements with this project, obviously extending Harney Street from 10th to 8th, and then also extending 8th Street, newly constructed 8th Street from Harney to Farnham. The public street systems alone are a pretty big number as far as the TIF's concerned. In addition, there are sidewalks being added on both sides of the Harney Street corridor. And then, of course, you have all the pedestrian event space here, public open space on this first corridor of Harney Street. There's sidewalks being constructed on the west side of 8th Street and on the south side of Farnham, and then on the east side of 10th Street as well. So then, in addition to that, bringing this grid system down to the Heartland of America Park and the lake, there's obviously a lot of utilities that are being extended, and so there's a fair amount of public improvements. There's also traffic signal modifications at 10th and Harney, and so as well as the on-street additional public parking that is being installed with this particular project. Again, talking about the parking facility located here in the building, this will be constructed and owned and managed by the city of Omaha. The total public improvements costs are about $12 million. So $2.6 million of that $12 million is coming from the development. The other $9 million is coming from the city as far as the CIP, and I believe that's being put into the CIP to help assist in those and defray those public improvement costs. And then I believe the public parking garage is about $14.5 million that will also be paid by the city. Obviously, it's an asset that the city will own and manage as well. So the total project cost for Phase 1A, again, this being the parking garage, the apartments, and the retail, is about $105 million. That includes the $24 million from the city, which is the $9 million out of the CIP, and the $14.5 for the parking garage. So the developer's project costs are a little over $81 million for this development. The projected valuation for Phase 1A is expected to be about $61 million based upon a market analysis that was commissioned by the developer. And as far as job creation, they're anticipating with this first phase 60 to 80 full-time jobs. We did make a note that we have not applied for an enhanced employment area at this point, but we just kind of put a placeholder out there to say that it may not be with this particular phase of the development, but it could be with respect to the other phases of the development. That's not something we're seeking right now, but I did want to have a placeholder out there. The TIF request is $11 million for this particular project. The TIF eligible expenses are about $15.6 million, so it's less than what the entire TIF eligible expenses are. That's 14% of the total construction costs, which isn't out of line. It's pretty customary with respect to various TIF requests. The current valuation is $7.9 million, so that only brings in about $179,000 a year. And this is the redevelopment of what they call ConAgra Building number 1, and then their parking facility. So those are the first 2 buildings within the campus that will be demolished with respect to phase 1. With the proposed development, we think it'll be about $61 million. So if you had a $53 million valuation, for example, it'd bring in about $1.2 million on an annual basis in additional tax. So we believe this meets the requirements of the community development law, meets the goals of the master plan. And with that, I don't know if Bridget has anything else to add, but we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard?
Bridget Hadley, Planning Department. We concur with what Larry has presented and ask for your approval.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Festerson.
Thanks, Mr. President. Larry, if you would. So this obviously represents another major reinvestment in downtown and a major economic development project and repurposing, if you will, of some of ConAgra's properties, and will be consistent with and complementary to, I think, what starts to happen later this week on the riverfront in terms of Jean Leahy Mall and all the rest of things within that $260 million project. We talked a little bit this morning, and you started to address it in your remarks a little bit about the timing here. So can you remind us what we'll see and what citizens will start to see if this is approved today? You mentioned fall construction. I think you said 2021 completion of phase 1?
Correct.
When will that, so demolition and things will start to occur in?
Hopefully the fall of this year.
Fall of 2019.
Yes. Obviously, we have to get back through the council with the final plat and the rezoning, which isn't really rezoning, but it's the ACI 1 overlay district on top, and then the redevelopment agreement. That'll be the last that we'll see of this. So that it's anticipated the construction would start very soon thereafter. So if you look, if you kind of take Harney Street and extend it this way, you'll notice that this building goes away and the parking facility goes away, and this all gets kind of repurposed in that particular area. So that's what you'll see in the fall, the demolition of those 2 buildings and the removal of a kind of the corner piece, if you will, as it enters into the ConAgra campus.
Pretty major change. And the street will go through. When would the street be complete?
The street will be all part of phase 1. So both the Harney Street as extended and 8th Street between Harney and Farnham, that'll all be phase 1. And all the relocation of the utilities and the extension of the utilities, all that will be needed to serve phase 1. So that will all be part of first phase. I think what you're going to find, at least what we're hopeful of, is there's been a lot of activity with respect to other hotels and hotel flags and developers. So we think that 1B will follow shortly thereafter, which will be this building right here. And then after that, only time will tell. But
So some unknowns with the long-term plan, but it's multi-year thoughts. Are you thinking 5 years, 10 years for us, the phases, or what's the latest thought on that?
I think it's probably 10, every bit of it, by the time you get to the condos and the apartments. But look, you know, if it accelerates, we're happy about that, right? But I think that's probably a fair timeline, the 10.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harding.
Thank you, Mr. President. Larry, I'm sorry, I think I missed some of the numbers. I thought I heard you saying 61 million, but I think in our information it says 81 million.
The costs, we think the projected valuation, you know, costs are always more than what
Sure.
the projected valuation will be. So the costs are 105 million with phase 1. That includes the 24 million contribution by the city, which is the 9 million in CIP and the 14.5 for the parking garage. And then the developer has 81 million in costs. We're projecting the valuation being at $61 million. It could come in a little higher. I suppose it could come in a little lower. The TIF request was really based upon that projected valuation because I think realistically that's how properties are valued, especially income-producing properties. So that's how we valued that. And then of course the TIF eligible expenses were, I believe, 15.6 million, and we are requesting 11 million.
Okay, thanks. The number of stalls in the garage was how many?
720.
720.
Yes.
And you had that at What was the cost on the garage?
I think, 22,000, 14.5, 14,
14.5.
yeah, 0.5 million. I think we used like a $22,000 per stall, which is kind of the going rate, I think, right now.
Yeah.
Is how we derive that.
I think that'd be a little more, but, okay, and then I'm sorry, give me the numbers on the amount of office and retail again.
On
Well, I guess on
phase one, yeah, this is just.
Phase one is just
Phase one is the
multifamily.
42,000 square feet of retail.
Right.
It's the 375 unit
Units,
apartments, and then it's the parking facility. So,
But on full build-out, how much
oh,
office?
we're thinking it's like, cost-wise and development-wise, I think they're saying between 500 and 600 million when you get to all these
No,
various.
I'm
parts.
sorry, square feet.
Oh, square feet?
Yeah.
Oh, that was 500. What do I have? I think it was, overall was 500,000 square feet of office,
Okay. And-
80,000 square feet of retail,
Okay,
and then you have the hotel, and then 900 units, which are a combination of multifamily and
Condos.
condominiums, yeah.
do you anticipate the hotel being full service, or?
I think that's the hope, but, the market
See
kind of
what the
dictates
market-
those
yeah.
things, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pauls. Second, Mr. Pauls.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a couple questions. Is the Heinz interest, is that anything dealing with ConAgra, or is that totally?
No, totally separate. ConAgra knew that they were going to put this out for kind of just to talk to various developers around the country. Heinz is a company that's been in business for quite some time. Brad could probably fill you in on all that, but they've done developments worldwide, and so they're I think through their interviews and involvement with Heinz, and I think ConAgra was talking to maybe a few other developers. I think with Heinz's experience in major cities around the country and the world, they picked Heinz as their preferred developer to take this matter forward. So there is no affiliation.
Okay. Are they located primarily in Chicago?
That's where some of the gentlemen are from, but I think their home base is in Houston, Texas.
Okay, I thought it'd just be a little bit ironic that ConAgra's headquarters moves to Chicago, so we have Chicago coming back to help us.
Yeah, no, there's no affiliation there.
I'm having a little fun with that. No, it sounds pretty exciting. And as I read, it says basically, when this is all finished, you're expecting an investment about
500 million.
500
yeah,
or half a
500
billion
to 600
dollars.
million. Yeah, I did have an exhibit I can share with you here. This ConAgra continues to have 1,200 employees here in these three
Right, yeah.
buildings. So that was an exhibit that I had. But there's still 1,200 employees of ConAgra that are currently working in these three buildings located here on the south side of the proposed development.
So in each phase, I'm to assume that that you will be probably coming back with another TIF?
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah, we think so, correct.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not arguing with that, I'm just.
Yes.
The one thing I know, and I have to commend you for putting this in, but this sort of caught us in I think, a bind last time, because this, you have here an option to request general business occupation tax. That may be an
That may
option.
be down the road.
Right.
We haven't applied for anything at this
Right.
point. I just wanted to be fair to the council and to the city about having that as a placeholder in the event that we would request that down the
But
road.
this is how you trapped us last time, and I'm using the word trap because you made me feel guilty. You said, gee, Rich, you said okay with that. Then when he came for it, you were questioning it.
I didn't mean to trap
Yeah,
anybody.
well, I thought this is sort of,
promise you that.
well, remember when? I said, well, that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
So-
well, that was a little different deal, and that was one of the first ones
Yes,
ever.
that's-
And that was a deal where we didn't even have the general business occupation tax ordinance even on the books at that point. So we built that into the
Right.
redevelopment agreement, and that was several years later that
Right.
came up. So I apologize, I did not.
No,
mean
I was
to
just saying, because
trap
we
you.
had not, we didn't, even- we had the concept, but none of the.
Right.
The stuff below that concept.
That is true.
No, to me, this is probably a pretty exciting little thing for a
Thank
city
you.
of Omaha. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve items 10 and 19. There are no further lights. Roll call.
Can we have separate votes on? 10
Separate
and
votes
19?
on, I'm sorry.
So this will
10.
just be for number 10.
Number 10.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 10 is approved, 7-0.
Move to approve 19.
Second, roll call.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 19 is approved, 7-0. Item 11, a resolution to approve a special use permit to allow large group living in an R7 district located at 4548 Bedford Avenue. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing agenda item number 11 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call, moving seconded to approve item 11 and no lights. Roll call.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 11 is approved, 7-0. Item 12, a resolution to approve a special use permit to allow a general office in a GI district located at 8800 F Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing agenda item number 12 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve item 12. No lights. Roll call.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 12 is approved, 7-0. Did you want to postpone 13 to 15? Do you want me to read them, or
Do we need, I don't think we need to read them. We're just going to lay them over.
are you going to lay them over?
Motion to lay over items 13, 14, and 15 until March 5th.
Second.
Moved and seconded to lay over items 13, 14, and 15 to March 5th. No lights. Roll call.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed, 7-0. Item 16, an ordinance to create street improvement district number 2019-01 for the purpose of improving Emmett Street from North 83rd Street to its terminus.
Public hearing agenda item number 16 is today. Proponents, please.
My name is Catherine Manley. I live at 8402 Emmett Street, and I am here in favor to create the Street Improvement District, number 2019-01. Our street is in such disarray. You can barely drive up and down the street. We cannot walk in the street anymore. Some of the holes are so big that they're over 2 feet deep, and it is very, very dangerous. Children or anybody cannot really go in the street anymore. So I would appreciate a vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents who wish to be heard?
Mark Wongler, 8410 Emmett Street. Last fall, our street was unnavigable. The city, either the city or a contracted person came in and graded it, ground the existing street and graded it. It's beautiful. We so appreciate that. But when the frost goes out of the ground, and we had a lot of moisture since then, and the frost started to go out of the ground, and it's soft. And this spring, we're going to be in trouble when the frost goes clear out of the ground. So I'm really hopeful that we can get this project moving forward. And the cost is shocking, but I'm so thankful that the city is paying for half of it. Without that, we wouldn't be able to do it. So I'm so appreciative of that. And I hope that we can do this project with expediency. And frankly, this spring, we might need some help. We might, until the project gets going, we might need a couple truckloads of rock or something to get us through until the project can get started. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard?
Name's Dylan Blankman. I live at 8504 Emmett Street. Just want to say, since moving in, she was correct. The street was undrivable. It was basically unpassable without a four-wheel drive vehicle. But at the price heard when I moved in, it was $6,000 for the total project, $150 per per linear square foot. Now the price is at $25,000, and it is $543 per square foot, nearly, well, over double the original cost. At that cost, that I have to vote no.
Okay, thank you. Any other opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Festerson.
Thanks, Mr. President. So this is in my district in the Keystone area, and I think one thing everyone here would agree today is that it's in dire need of improvement from the current situation. It is truly a problem. I can tell neighbors that Public Works has been engaged on the current status of the street, and one neighbor described the process where it was reclaimed recently, and that's true, and graded. But since then, given the weather and the snow and the freeze-thaw has really become a problem. So I want to thank Public Works for agreeing to go back out and address that in the meantime. They are going to come back and help you with the some of the ground condition, as well as some gravel too, to make that better in the meantime. Should this SID go forward or not, that's going to happen anyway here shortly. So that's helpful in the short term, and I want to thank Mr. Rouser for helping to facilitate that. And then going forward, I think it's accurate to say that it was unanimous in terms of the property owners that voted to petition this process and get it started. And so that's where we are today, is the creation of the street improvement district. But along the way, things get more specific and estimates get more refined, and I think there's an initial estimate that was more than anyone thought in terms of getting this done. And that'll get refined in the process too, as it continues, to know exactly what it will cost a property owner. But I have had one other letter of expressing concern about that, in addition to Mr. Blankman's testimony here today. So I want folks to know that I think what we'll do here today, or what I'll support, is the creation of this SID as petitioned, allowing that process to move forward. I think that is still the majority of property owners in their desire to do that. But I want those to know that have concerns or maybe opposed, that what happens next in this process is it also starts a petition process of protest. So if at this point, if neighbors were concerned enough to want to reconsider their petitions, they can recirculate a petition saying they would oppose what's going forward here, and they could stop the process at that point if they wanted to, and if that was the will of the majority of the bloc. So I just wanted those with concerns to know that today. But I do support moving forward with this creation of the ordinance today. Hopefully it does bring a permanent solution to the street in a long-term way that can be affordable for folks and can be financed over 20 years. I want to make sure everybody knows that too. I think as was explained in the recent letter, it is a total of $809,000, this project at this point. $405,000 would be covered by the city. And this is the first project to come through the City Council since we did adopt the new street policy officially. So no further action would be needed in terms of the city's 50% match. That'd be a guarantee at this point. So I wanted to point out those things in terms of the current status of this process for everyone, and indicate my support for today, and motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve items number 16. There are no further lights. Roll call.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 16 is approved 7-0. Item 17, a resolution to approve the Ashton Building Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Plan located at 1218 Nicholas Street in an amount up to $6,350,000.
Public hearing agenda item number 17 is today. Proponents, please.
Afternoon, Don Seaton, City Planning. If you enjoy seeing large, vacant historic buildings put back into economic use, I've got a couple for you today that I think you're going to enjoy. The project at hand is the Ashton Building. This project is located at 12th and Nicholas. This blue box here, straight north of TD Ameritrade Stadium. This is a very large historic building, brick building, constructed in 1890. It's about 187,000 square feet. Sits on a site of about 2¼ acres. The developer is Ashton LLC, which is managed by Black Dog LLC, managed by Paul G. Smith. Okay, the building's gonna be rehabbed for an office use, will have full amenities, first floor commercial and retail uses as well are included. This is really a large first step for what will be the Millworks Commons redevelopment plan, area redevelopment plan. It's also on your agenda today for introduction. It's a larger area, and the rehab of this building is a big first step. Project cost total is about $40 million. They're requesting $6.35 million in TIF. They'll also be making use of state and federal historic preservation tax credits. This project fits well with the city's master plan. It complies with the criteria of the TIF program. It's an appropriate land use for the location. We ask for your approval.
Thank you. Don't go far now. We might have a couple more questions for you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard?
Good afternoon. I'm Kendra Ringenberg. I'm representing the developer on this project. I'm here to answer any questions you may have in addition to Don. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard?
Larry Storer, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, Nebraska, 68132. I'm opposed to this primarily because a few weeks ago, I think I heard Mr. Noddle say that the market for ground floor retail is no longer there. But going through our agenda today, I see there's a number of these projects. But if the market is no longer there, maybe we should think twice about TIF financing for such a type of mixed-use building and ground floor retail. That would be the common sense. If that's a builder that says that maybe you should re-examine that paradigm, I guess you call it a paradigm, of that mixed use. Yes, this is closer to the ballpark. The other one is closer to a high-tech community, and they don't think that would survive with ground floor retail. So why would this one? And if I might take a moment, I see the rules have been changed on the testimony, which may be good, but I don't want to sit all day and testify on 16 different things. So I'd like to end my remarks and leave, primarily because for the third week in a row, I came down for a particular item that's now been put off again with no notice and no explanation why. However, as I go through this whole agenda today, I see an awful lot of money being given away with TIF. But what's funny about it is some of them, the agreement is they'll kick back some of that money somehow. After they get the TIF, some of that money will go back into some kind of fund. I think that needs to be explained to the public as to why some get that and some don't. We get our money back from some of them, but we don't from some. I'm not the lawyer and I'm not a city councilman, but that's the way it looks. So please, in the order of transparency, explain yourselves to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other opponents who wish to be heard?
Luis Jimenez, 518 North 40th Street. I'm going to show you the council members a map really quick. Yes. You guys are familiar with this map since it's on your website. It is the community redevelopment area. Shows the boundaries here. I think this is Dodges. When I got on the website and looked at this map, I was expecting to look the map to look more like Swiss cheese on what's considered a blighted area. And I believe that's where a lot of the confusion and controversy comes from. Because you have areas here that if you're out in the street, it doesn't look blighted. It doesn't look like it needs help. It looks like the business owners and property owners got the areas handled. And one good example is Blackstone. But you repeatedly get property owners and business owners coming in asking for the TIF in this area. And then you have areas like in North Omaha and South Omaha that you would think developers would be using TIF to upgrade the area because it looks blighted outside. I'm not sure who determines the boundaries for Omaha on the community redevelopment area. Is it the TIF committee? Is it you guys? But I think you should look at it and add holes, islands, whatever, because I think that's where the controversy comes in, where you're out there and it's like, why is money flowing into this area, public funds, and there's places just nearby that need investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Don, if you could for a minute for me, as it relates to the Ashton, could you be a little bit more specific about what will be going into that building?
I may need to defer to the developer as far as specifics, but they are looking at the first floor as being commercial and retail uses, and the balance of the building being office space, and full amenity office space, shared amenities, kind of an upscale type of office building. The interior of the building is kind of the post and beam construction that you see in old warehouses. Mm-hmm. So it's a kind of space both for the retail
I've been in it.
Office that would have some special appeal. But it is 187,000 square feet, and quarter of it will be first floor commercial, roughly. You might get more specifics from the applicant.
Okay, and I know Flywheel is going in there, yeah.
That's what I was just going to say. They have a floor and a half with the option to expand even further if they desire.
Okay.
That's the only one that is committed at this time. They do have quite a bit of interest from in the other areas. And in terms of the retail component, when you have an office building, the idea of the retail at the bottom is to service the people that are in that office building. So in theory, the retail will probably be amenities that will be helpful to the people that are working in that office, and then in the surrounding development as that grows too.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Harding?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was going to say maybe it's time for our kind of semi-annual TIF 101 class. I just wanted to state for the record that TIF is not a giveaway of taxpayers' dollars. And I mean, we can have the 101 discussion at some later date because we do have it a couple times a year here, but suffice it to say, for those who testified about that, it is not a giveaway of taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve item 17. There are no further lights. Roll call.
Palermo. Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem. Melton. Pauls.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 17 is approved, 7-0. Item 18, a resolution to approve the Logan Building Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Plan located at 1802 Dodge Street in an amount up to $2,776,500.
Public hearing agenda item number 16 is today. Proponents, please.
Yes, good afternoon. Don Seaton, Omaha City Planning. The Logan Building TIF project plan, another historic building rehab project. It's located at 1802 Dodge, 18th and Dodge. We're right here, so it's literally 2.5, 3 blocks north of us. This is a rehab of a 7-story 1918 structure. It's been vacant for at least a decade, possibly 2. It'll be rehabbed as a hotel, kind of a condo regime. There'll be a 90-room Indigo IHG brand hotel, kind of a boutique hotel. That'll be one component. Between 4 and 6 penthouse condominium units, residential units, and also a speakeasy lounge. A little bit better view of the site. You might orient yourself with the so-called flying saucer building. The developer is Logan Hospitality LLC. Mike Works, manager. There'll be some parking on site. We're looking northwest here. This is the north end of the building and the west side of the building. A little bit of parking on site, but there'll also be leasing spaces at 19th and Capitol from the city garage. Total project cost is a little over $20.7 million. The TIF request is $2,776,500. It's a fairly complex financial structure for the project. They'll also be using PACE financing and an EEA tax, the Enhanced Employment Area Tax. Roughly $1,375,000 they're looking at the EEA tax, and that's also on your agenda. The project involves also improvements to both the Dodge and the 18th Street right-of-way. They're looking at a budget of about $215,000 in right-of-way improvements, and they're also making a contribution to the Downtown Improvement Fund, about $54,590. I'd just like to note that approval of the TIF today does not relieve the proponents of their obligation to meet all the zoning requirements. And it is an ACI zone. Their budget on the public improvements may need to increase a little bit to meet the ACI standards. So the site plan in your packet is a little bit dated, but they're working very well with us. Okay, this project meets the criteria for our TIF program. It's an appropriate land use for the area. Complies with the city master plan. We ask for your approval.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard?
Good afternoon, Mr. President, council members. David Levy, Barrett Home Law Firm, 1700 Farnham Street. Mike Works is here with me today as well. We think this is a great project, National Register historic building downtown getting rehabilitated and reused, and happy to answer any questions and ask for your approval.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Any other proponents? Any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
Luis Jimenez, 518 North 40th Street. I understand that this money that is put for TIF by the city is money that is returned to the paid back. It's paid back one way or another. Excuse me. I understand that you're not giving money to people and a property owner, and you're not expecting that back. So I don't, for my part, I don't want you guys to think that I don't care about the urban core or how this land, this area is being used to promote Omaha. I completely support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Move to approve. Moved and seconded to approve item 18. There are no further lights. Roll call.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 18 is approved, 7-0. Item 20, a resolution to approve the Victory Apartments 2 tax increment financing redevelopment project plan located at 819 Dorcas Street, and amount up to $347,016.
Public hearing on agenda item number 20 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, Bridget Hadley, City Planning. Before you is the Phase 2 of the permanent supportive housing that has been provided at the Victory Apartments. If you may recall, maybe some of you, maybe a couple of you were on and maybe none of you were on the council about 2012, 2013. Victory Apartments 1 came through, and Victory Apartments 1 is right here and comprises about 90 studio and one-bedroom apartments for veterans. And it also includes some supportive services for those veterans. So the developer has come forward and said, let's continue providing that type of housing for the veterans, and so therefore we have phase 2. This will comprise 60 studio and 1-bedroom apartments, and because they are connected, they can make use and have access to those existing supportive services. Here is, just to kind of give you an idea, here's the entrance, a view of the entrance of the building, and I don't know if that's a little dark, but here's the building right here. Straight ahead, that's Victory Apartments 2. So as you're entering into the campus area, this is the former, part of former Grace University property. And then here is the west elevation. So there aren't any proposed changes to the exterior of the building. All of the rehabilitation costs are related to the interior of the building. So the tax increment financing amount that they're requesting is $347,016. It does involve low-income housing tax credit project or tax credit. So therefore, the amount of TIF that is eligible is usually a lot lower. So it's about 5%. The total TIF is about 5% of the total estimated project cost. Let's see, the total investment into this particular project is a little over $8.2 million. And I think that is all. I know the developer is here to maybe speak a little bit more, but what I wanted to do, if I may, just address the question about CRAs.
Turn it over, Bridget. Are you referring to the picture again, or you just want to turn it?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, good.
I should have put that there. Sorry about that. As it relates to CRAs, which are community redevelopment areas, and that is a definition in the community development law, it says that a community redevelopment area happens to be an area that is determined to be blighted and substandard. And the terms blighted and substandard are determined by the community development law. So how the city staff determines an area is blighted and substandard is based on what is stated in the community development law. And I know as we drive around, we may look at areas and say, that area is not blighted, or it is blighted in our own vision and interpretation, but we have to go by what the community development law says. And it's looking at a lot of different things, deterioration of property, faulty street layouts, vacancy, public hazards. And then there's a part B of one of those blighted conditions that has some demographics that we look at, such as loss of population, just went blank, loss of population, per capita income, the years of age of structures. That's what I'm trying to remember. So there are various things that we're looking at, and I won't get into the TIF 101 because there is an annual report that will be coming to you by May 1st, and I can probably get more into it, but I just wanted to address that. So we do have a lot of areas. It's not a Swiss cheese look. It's very connected because there are a lot of areas that still are in need of redeveloping. And I did want to answer maybe the other gentleman's question about who gets TIF. I wasn't exactly sure, but our staff reviews the TIF applications, and of course there's the TIF committee that reviews the applications, and of course then there's a council, you guys, that review those applications. And so our TIF in Omaha is developer financed. So those developers are at risk. They have to get their own financing to cover that amount of TIF. So the city is not, as you stated, we're not giving them money that they didn't earn and have to make happen by making that project come to fruition. So I just wanted to address that and would ask for your approval.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard?
Zach Reinhardt, Burlington Capital, 1004 Farnham Street. Here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve item 20. There are no lights. Roll call.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Mr. President. Mr.
Yes.
President.
Yes.
Item 20 is approved, 7-0.
Had you in suspense there for a minute.
Item 21, an application to consider a Class C liquor license for the Monster Club located at 1217 Howard Street.
Public hearing agenda item number 21 is today. Proponents, please.
Members of the council, Michael Lee, and appearing for Sean Kelly today. The applicants are present. They're planning to open by May 1st. If you have any questions for them, we'd be glad to answer.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, is there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
Move to approve.
Second, roll call.
Palermo.
Yes.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 21 is approved, 7-0. Items 22 to 28 can be considered together for applications for Class D liquor licenses for the following: Casey's General Store 3814, located at 14330 Hillsdale Avenue. Casey's General Store 3816, located at 3725 North 147th Street. Casey's General Store 3821, located at 2540 North 90th Street. Casey's General Store 3817, located at 18280 Wright Street. Casey's General Store 3818, located at 250 North 168th Circle. Casey's General Store 3819, located at 16960 Evans Plaza.
Public hearing on agenda items numbers 22 through 28 are today. Proponents, please.
Oh, sorry, it's
27, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
22
27,
through
sorry.
27. Proponents, please.
Yeah, where's the pizza?
And the coffee. Where's the pretty?
We're looking forward to this acquisition, and we're looking forward.
Name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry. Rose Rojas. Let me pick mine. 2050 North 168th Circle, Omaha. We're looking forward to being good neighbors, and we're looking forward to the acquisition. Answer any questions you have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Moved and seconded to approve items 22 through 27. There are no lights. Roll call.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 22 through 27 are approved, 7-0. Consent agenda. Any member of the City Council may cause any item placed on the consent agenda to be removed. Items removed from the consent agenda shall be taken up by the City Council immediately following the consent agenda in the order in which they were removed, unless otherwise provided by the City Council Rules of Order.
The public hearings on agenda items numbers 28 through 30 were held on February 12, 2019.
Move to approve.
Second, roll call.
Palermo.
Yes.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 28 through 30 are approved, 7-0.
The public hearing on agenda items numbers 31 through 73 are today. If you wish to address the City Council regarding these items, please come to the microphone, indicate the agenda item number you wish to address, identify yourself by your name, address, who you represent, and if you are a proponent or an opponent. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Pauls.
Thank you, Mr. President. What I'm going to do, I'm going to run down several of these. I'll mention the number and then just have a question, I think, basically to Mr. Stubbe.
Bob Stubbe, Public Works.
Okay, I'm going to go down a list of these, and I just want a simple yes or no, no elaborate explanation. But on 31, I see that is for 7 half-ton extended cabs worth about $179,000 to Gene Steffi.
That is correct.
And he is a local or close by. Is that from out of Fremont?
Yes.
Okay. On 32, Murphy's Tractor and Equipment, $44,000. That's for our actually help with the composting facility. Is that a local person?
Yes.
So $44,000 goes to a local. Okay. 33, Logan Contractor Supply, $102,000.
Yes.
That's local.
Yes.
These are local dollars going to, or our tax dollar going to local people. Now I'm going to jump down to 36. And I'm assuming not all these are from Omaha, but the Workman Precast Corporation, an amount of $240,000.
Yes, that's Louisville, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, but that's actually local.
Yes,
That money's going to them. Okay, 37, McKay Meters, that's for parking meters.
correct. That's our meter mechanisms, and I don't believe they are local, no.
Okay, that's fine. And then IPS for 82, for 38, $82,000 from IPS. Is that local? That's also parking.
That is parking, and no, they are not local.
Okay. So I'm assuming probably all the parking are not. With 39, Vermont?
Vermont, I believe, is out of Houston.
Okay. 40, Grunwald?
Grunwald Mechanical is a local company.
Okay, that's 273,000 we're giving to, not giving, but they're receiving from the city. 41 Ray Martin for 106,000.
Yes, they are local.
Okay. 42 would be Swain Construction for 707,000.
That is a local contractor.
Okay. And who will hire local people. 43 Midwest DCM for 505,000.
I believe they are a local company also.
Okay, they're going to work on the fire station. Building Crafts, number 44, Building Crafts for 306,000.
Yes, local company.
Okay, another money that gets poured back into our community. 45 is, again, it's Swain Construction for 776,000.
Yeah, local contractor.
Again, it will be poured back. Now I'm going to jump down, let's say, to 49. Is working with the Nebraska Department of Transportation, which is actually going to help out in from 156 to 108th on West Maple. So that should make one council person pretty happy. But 451,000 is the city's part. I know the state does the bidding on that, but that 451 that our share of it, probably most of those people will be local or statewide people.
Yeah, that particular contractor, which I believe is Constructors out of Lincoln, so yes.
Okay, okay, 50, this is a change order for almost $1.4 million to Hopkins Construction.
Local company.
A local company, that's for a treatment plant. I'm just trying to reinforce how much money of this is going to local people. 51, R&R Construction for 59,000. Is that local?
I believe so, yes.
That ought to keep Mr. Palumbo happy. That's going to be the Vinton streetlights. Okay, I'm going to jump down to 54. I don't know if that's Corello Engineers.
Corello Engineering is a firm out of Kansas City.
Okay, well, that's a good state to be from. Okay, local presence, okay. Yeah. Okay, then I'm looking at 56, 57, 58, which are engineering services, 56 by Felsberg, 57 by Olson, 58 by AECOM Tech Services for 30,000 each for the Omaha signal system. Are those basically from Omaha?
Yeah, 56 and 57, both of them have a presence in town. I believe AECOM also has a presence in town.
Okay, I'm not going to go on anymore, but I'm just trying to let people know that a lot of the dollars that we do spend actually plows right back into the community and helps a lot of people, not only the businesses, but the people who do work for them. Thank you, Mr. Stubbe, for giving me those answers. I'm finished.
Mr. Hart, no, I just want
So moved.
No, I was.
I can feel it.
No, I got Mr. Harding next. That's why
okay,
I
I'm
said,
sorry.
Mr. Harding.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tom, I just wanted to, I was going to just had a question about 73. Wanted to know if you wanted to take a moment just to explain the reason for the action that we're being asked to consider.
Sure. Tom McClay, 3814 Farnham Street, Suite 201. This is a follow-on to what we had done a few months back, the enhanced employment area. We are taking steps with the help of the City Finance Department, the City Legal Department, Mr. Kratz and Ms. Taylor and Mr. Curtis, to create a bond authorizing ordinance, which is on first reading. It'll come back here next week for public hearing to have an issuance of some conduit financing through a buyer out of Texas for that financing for the hotel project that we've been ongoing on. We're doing this in conjunction with First National Bank, one of our local banks, Mr. Pauls, Councilman Pauls, and we'll be continuing to proceed on with the project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Second, roll call.
Palermo. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 74, an ordinance to extend a contract by 2 years with Deffenbaugh Disposal Service, Inc. for the collections of solid waste from Omaha Housing Authority sites for a 2-year total of $152,680.
Public hearing agenda item number 74 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 75, an ordinance declaring the necessity of acquiring property for use by the city of Omaha for the 89th Circle Street Improvement District.
Public hearing on agenda item number 75 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Harding. Or you were, I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. Next item.
Item 76, an ordinance declaring the necessity of acquiring property for use by the city of Omaha for the construction of the 72nd and Maple Street intersection safety project.
Public hearing on agenda item number 76 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Festerson.
Thanks, Mr. President. Mr. Stubbe, I forgot to ask a question about this one this morning. This is adding a turn lane at 72nd and Maple, which I'm supportive of, and this is the ordinance declaring the necessity of acquiring potential property for that project. I just noticed in the map that it's a pretty extensive area contemplated in this ordinance, north, south, and east, west there, but my impression is the acquisitions would be actually pretty close to where the intersection is located. Is that accurate?
Bob Stubbe, Public Works. Yeah, so this is authority not only for acquisition, but also for any type of easements, whether it's temporary or permanent. So majority of it, I would make the assumption they're probably easements, not necessarily acquisitions. But yes, it's all related to that safety project for turn lanes.
Okay. And any acquisitions, I assume, are pretty close to that actual intersection?
It should be, yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 77, an ordinance approving a redevelopment tax increment financing redevelopment agreement with 1701 LLC to implement the Habitat Kunst Park 5 tax increment financing redevelopment project plan located between Saylor and Evans Streets and between North 18th and 24th Streets in an amount up to $405,000.
Public hearing on agenda item number 77 is today. Proponents, please.
Don Seaton, Omaha City Planning, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 78, an ordinance approving a redevelopment tax increment financing redevelopment agreement with Westchester Capital to implement the Elliott Equipment Company tax increment financing redevelopment project plan located at 3514 South 25th Street in an amount up to $1,131,408.
Public hearing on agenda item number 78 is today. Proponents, please.
Yes, Don Seaton, Omaha City Planning, again, available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard?
I'm Jim Glazer, Elliott Equipment Company, 4427 South 76th Circle, Omaha, 68127. Just want to thank you, and we look forward to getting this project started. We're getting the subcontractor bids in today, and hopefully get the permit issued here in the next week, and we'll start running. So we appreciate it. We couldn't do it without the support of the city. So thank you.
Thank you. Next item. Oh, I'm sorry. Here are the proponents. Are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 79, an ordinance approving a redevelopment tax increment financing redevelopment agreement with 4660N56 LLC to implement the Ames Innovation Center tax increment financing redevelopment project plan located at 4606 North 56th Street in an amount up to $486,146.
Public hearing agenda item number 79 is today. Proponents, please.
Yes, Don Seaton, City Planning. Again, if you have any questions on this item, I'm available.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard?
Jay Klein, 2036 North 48th Avenue, 68104. I represent White Lotus Group, here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 80, an ordinance approving a redevelopment and tax increment financing redevelopment agreement with Avanti Group LLC to implement the Little Italy on Pierce Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Plan located at 925 Pierce Street in an amount up to $2,300,000.
Public hearing agenda item number 80 is today. Proponents, please.
Don Seaton, City Planning, and sorry to be redundant, but I'm available if you have any questions.
That's fine, Don. Are there any other proponents who, I'm going to be redundant too. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard?
Hi, Eric Weisler, 9217 Davenport. I'm the developer, here to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard?
Larry Store, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. It indicates here that we're going to refurbish 2 existing homes. That implies that somebody maybe lives there. Now, I can't get TIF for my house, and as I understand it, there's a workings at the state now to update the building codes and everything. The inspector might knock on my door and say that, well, you got to do this or that, and I can't afford it. So can I get TIF to bring my house up to code? And if you're taking public right-of-way, 10th and Pierce, isn't that something that my tax dollars paid for previously? So to a certain extent, it does involve my tax dollars. Thank you.
It's all new construction, just so you know. It's not renovating anything. It's all new construction. Thank you. Are there any other opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 81, an ordinance authorizing the approval of the agreement with the Omaha Police Department and the Metro Drug Task Force and Kevin T. Donlan to provide intelligence analyst services for the Metro Drug Task Force for a term of 1 year from April 1, 2019 to March 30th, 2020.
Public hearing agenda item number 81 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 82, an ordinance to authorize payment to the University of Nebraska Medical Center in the amount of $200,000 per year for professional services to perform DNA testing needed by the Omaha Police Department.
Public hearing agenda item number 82 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 83, an ordinance to approve and authorize an extension amendment to a contract with Metropolitan Technical Community College area to provide for payment on a per-student basis for various training for an additional 2 years.
Public hearing agenda item number 83 is today. Proponents, please. Welcome, Chief.
Good afternoon. Kathy Boston with the Fire Department, 1516 Jackson. I'm just available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Non-action items, items 84 through 108, do not require public hearing or city council consideration at this meeting, but will be placed on a future agenda for public hearing and/or vote. The reason for non-action is noted after the item on the agenda, as well as the date the item is expected to appear on the agenda for consideration.
Motion to adjourn. Second, roll call.
Palermo. Yes. Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Meeting is adjourned at 3:18.